Victory Show. We're back talking everything Arizona State football. I'm the RyKno, Ryan Knowles. Here with me as always, Big John Caldwell. It's RWD, and man, are we feeling good after a fifth straight win. The Devils reclaim the Territorial Cup. It is back in Tempe, where it belongs. Oh, Big John, feels good to be talking another ASU win, 5 straight to end the regular season as the Devils clinch a spot in the BIG12 Championship Game this Saturday against Iowa State with a spot in the college football playoff on the line. Oh, my goodness gracious. At the beginning of the season, could any of us even have imagined talking about this?
I think we knew that the football was back on the right track and that we had the right guy. But to put 50 newcomers and all the issues behind us and figure out how to play as a team. Remember, the teams, we're not winning because we're the best. We have the best individuals or that we have the best. We got freaks everywhere. No, we're winning because we have a lot of love and we're absolutely getting it done with. If somebody makes a mistake,
playing for the guy next to him. They're playing for the guy next to him. This is a great team. It's not a bunch of individuals. It's not a bunch. They're not stocked with first round NFL talent. It's just a great team that loves playing together and is just dictating their game on the opponent. And you can win a lot. You win a lot of football games doing that, and that's exactly what ASU has done this year.
We have lost with some of our best players. I mean, we've lost without Scatterby. We lost without Tyson. We lost without Sam. We've overcome a lot of situations and kept winning. At UCF game, we had no business winning, but we did. So I mean,
that was a game we didn't have Scatterby.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that we're sitting here talking, that ASU, beat our rival U of A after losing by 36 points to them the year before in Tempe, going down to Tucson, never an easy place to play, even though U of A is kind of a lame duck team this year. But a lot of people had the Wildcats upsetting us this week, and rivalry games. As they say, records go out the window. You still got to show up and play, and that's exactly what ASU did. There was no pity for the MF and Kitty on Saturday as the Devils roll 49-7 over their hated rivals and punch their ticket after a little bit of help. And we were watching some of the games. Heading back up to civilization, and the Devils will face the Iowa State Cyclones in the BIG12 Championship Game at AT&T Stadium this coming Saturday. No, John, you wanted to be there. Unfortunately, you couldn't. I will be there, however, in the Big D, rooting on our Sun Devils, and I cannot wait. It's going to be a crazy atmosphere, and oh man, 11 years since the last time ASU was in a conference championship game, their only other conference championship game. So I'm looking forward to a different result this time, Big John.
Oh yeah,
and we'll get into plenty of that, of course.
But I'll just say it again. I haven't seen a team with this much heart in a long time around here, and heart matters. I mean, old timers. It's so easy to see the heart in these guys, man. So yeah,
it is a bit of an old school team in today's college football, where everything is about me. What can I get? What can I get for my family? Guys got dollar signs in their eyes. The focus of this team,
family,
being able to stay even keel and play the way they have week in and week out against teams that frankly have a little bit more talent than they do probably, but still to go out there and execute the way they have week in and week out is a true testament to Kenny Dillingham and his staff. And college football, and here we sit, 10-2, college football playoff, one win away from being among the elite in today's college football. Oof! It's very exciting. Cannot wait for Saturday to say that.
It can't come soon. It cannot come soon enough, right? And I think you're very fortunate to. I mean, a lot of fan bases, if you look around, maybe get this once. This is lightning in a bottle. Everybody, I mean, if we win this game, I analogize the vibe around here is going to be like when the Suns were in the finals or the Cardinals were in the Super Bowl. Everybody's going to be wearing colors. It's all they're going to talk about wherever you go.
Diamondbacks in the World Series.
D-backs World Series, same phenomenon. And, a a lot
I've
of
been wearing my ASU gear at the gym all weekend. I've definitely been seeing some more ASU people out
good.
there.
Yeah,
So
it's everybody.
yeah, it's great.
This you're in a diner. The waitress goes, "Go Devils!" You know, like it's just
What's up? Yeah.
everybody's talking about it, right?
Don't even have to say anything. Just flash them the fork, and
Yeah.
people know what you're talking about. Know what you're saying to them.
I'm on
So
a conference call today with guys all over the country, and they're all wanting to know what's going on in Tempe, man. So,
that's when you
so
know you're doing something right there. Yeah. So the Big 12 Devils' first year in the Big 12, four teams in college football. Their first year in a new conference. They're playing for their conference championship. So definitely the changing face of college football has definitely favored the newcomers this year.
well, and look at the refugees that came out of the Pac-12. How my God, it's like Oregon, gonna win that conference.
Oh
We're gonna win
yeah,
ours. It's
SMU and the ACC
yeah.
looking really good too. So yeah, it's a the changing landscape of college football has definitely reared its handsome face this year, and we're looking forward to more of the same with these conference championship games coming up tomorrow and Saturday. It's going to be an interesting week too. But first, we got some postseason hardware to hand out as the Big 12 announced their various awards for this season. No surprise, Kenny Dillingham getting Coach of the Year in his second year in Tempe. Congrats, Coach. Well deserved. And for those people who think Dion deserves it more, you're wrong. I'll put it politely. You're wrong. I'll keep it PG. You are very wrong. And Dilly
we
certainly
overcame a lot.
earned that. Kind of a no-brainer given where the team was expected to finish to where they ended up.
Yeah.
And then there were some people who felt like, Cam Scatterboot kind of got snubbed for Offensive Player of the Year. It was given to Shedeur Sanders from Colorado, who's certainly a tremendous player. He's probably could be the first quarterback off the board in this spring's draft. But hats off to Cam. He had a tremendous year, getting some Heisman buzz. We'll see how real it is coming up here in the next couple of weeks. But first team offensive running back, still something to be proud of for Cam. And then Jordan Tyson, we'll get into him a little bit more when we talk about U of A. But definitely, he was definitely one of the focal points in this offense. The wide receiver one for Sam Levitt and company. And he definitely earned, being a first team wide receiver and the offensive newcomer of the year in the Big 12. Sam Levitt, second team quarterback, offensive freshman of the year. He's a redshirt freshman, but, still his first full year as a starter. And he has balled out, to say the least. He has been a tremendous, key to this team's success this year. And he certainly earned these accolades that he's gotten. Lee Fatanu, Xavier Alford, also first team All Big 12. And then the second team, Shimon Mateer, been a great target for Sam Levitt. He's caught some big touchdowns this year. Second team tight end. CJ Fight, the sophomore defensive tackle, also getting second team. And then the linebacker, the captain of the defense, Keyshawn Elliott, getting second team as well. Some honorable mentions. Caleb McCullough, who came up with some big interceptions this year. Miles Ghost Rouser, the safety, has had some big hits. Got a tackling machine out there. Definitely one of the keys on that defense, along with Xavier Alford, CJ Fight, and Keyshawn Elliott. And then some special teams love for Martell Hughes, who's been an ace on special teams this year. He had a nice tackle on a kickoff against U of A, and who can forget that block punt that led to the return from Montana Warren earlier this year as well. He's been definitely a special teams ace, Martell Hughes. So hats off, boys. All of this is well deserved, and looking forward to seeing more of the same going forward. And as we get in here to U of A, of course, one of the big headlines coming out of this game, other than the score, was Jordan Tyson suffering a upper body injury, probably a shoulder, because it does require surgery, and he is going to be out for the remainder of this postseason. But ASU runs over the Rats of Tucson 49-7, one of the biggest margins of victory in the rivalry's 100-plus year history. And as we mentioned before, ASU's fifth straight victory to end the regular season. man, Big John, Cincinnati seems so far away now, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the way we're playing now, the outcome would have been a lot different had we played these two teams we lost to then. But that's the way
Oh, totally.
that's the way the ball bounces.
Yeah.
But I do, it's always to me about trajectory. What's who's got the mojo? Honestly, gosh, I'm not making it. Even though I'm a homer, the entire country is talking about this as the narrative. Either they're the dark horse or they're the hot team, or some cases the dark horse hot team. But what's going on out there? The media finally has seen that we're going to have 5 million eyeballs watching this game on Saturday, folks. That's a huge change, upgrade from where we have been with the pack. But I do love the trajectory, of this whole thing. We're definitely ahead of schedule.
And sometimes it's not the best team that wins. It's the team that's playing the best at that time. And right now, I mean, when you look at the rest of the country, top to bottom, there are very few teams who are playing as well as ASU right now. Granted, level of competition is certainly different among the other conferences. It's probably not a fair comparison, but considering who they've played, who they've beaten, and the rankings of those teams and what ASU has accomplished, from the beginning of the season to now, it's extremely impressive, and this should be considered among one of the best stories in college football right now.
This number in particular, Ryan, 49, I think was no accident, because I think what these coaches really want to do, there's something in the playoff committee that it's called style points. If you score over 40, they can't help but look at you in a different light. And this is what happened, I think. Now, are we going to be able to do that again this weekend? I'm not so sure, based on the strength of this defense we're up against. But that number
I think
was
just going out and winning the game, it's a conference championship game. It's the two best teams in the conference. Right. Just go out and win the game. I think that's all that ASU's focused on right now. Granted, yes, style points against a lesser team that you should go out and beat by several scores, obviously, but yeah, the ranking does affect, where they're ranked certainly affects that. That is certainly taken into account, especially, and ASU kind of needed a game like this after so many close games that they've played.
Yes.
Leading up to this game against U of A. So hopefully, they'll be on the right side of things come at the end of the day on Saturday. But just kind of closing the book here on U of A, such a gratifying win after the last 2 years of the Wildcats kind of taking it to the Devils. They hadn't won back-to-back games in this rivalry since 94-95. So, no, excuse me, 08-09. Excuse me, 08-09 was the last time that U of A had won 2 straight. So good job. Kudos to ASU for stopping that losing streak here and reclaiming the cup. And they did it in dominant fashion. As you can see, the total yardage just staggering. 643 to 210, 281 of those yards on the ground, 24 first downs, 34 minutes time of possession. But, just the stats in this game are staggering. And we'll get into the individual stats in just a moment. But, it really wasn't even ever that close from the kickoff, Big John. Once ASU kind of established the line of scrimmage, they basically moved the ball at will.
Right. And to me,
U of A is having a down year. Their players probably weren't all that inspired, despite Coach Chuck Cecil's headbutts on the sideline and whatnot, bleeding from his head. U of A never really was in this game at any point for the most part, and
well, you could tell, Ryan.
It really showed in their play.
Let me tell you, to me, I know you. We look at the point of attack. We see who's more physical, who's got lower pad height, all that. But it was the tackling at the linebacker and DB level that I saw picked up right away. First and second series, I said, "Oh, they're spitting the bit here. They know what they're not laying down as much as there's no effort." I was shocked by their tackling effort, and
that's why both of U of A's coordinators lost their job today.
Right.
U of A's trying to restructure a little bit, but coming into this game, all the talk as far as U of A goes was on their offense. So ASU's defense did a tremendous job getting after Noah Fafita, kind of making him uncomfortable, getting him off his spot and out of rhythm, off his timing, all of that. They only had 2 sacks in this game, but they made U of A one-dimensional. They ran a little bit, but not really enough to really make it count for the most part. They tried running the ball a little bit more because ASU was kind of laying back, trying to take away some of those passing lanes, which they did a great job of. I mean, Fafita wasn't even 50% passing.
Oh no.
He did have the one touchdown to Tetero and McMillan, who put up video game numbers coming into this game, but ASU did a pretty good job on him as well. He did have the one touchdown, but for the most part, I mean, he did not put up the type of numbers I think a lot of people expected him to come into this game.
When you're one-dimensional like that, it's you're going to say to yourself, okay, he's going to get his. And we talked about bracketing, which we did, worked out great. I mean, I think we checked all the boxes in our keys to the game last week. I felt really like
well, hey,
I think we understand this team now really well. I mean, the fact that they don't quit, and they hadn't quite put together 4 quarters, but they kind of did it at Oklahoma State. But you had a 30
and Wyoming for the most part
right.
was a dominant performance. But this one, put kind of the culmination of everything leading up to this game. And Kenny, the now viral video of him,
halftime,
twist the knife. Those were his words to the team at the half, and stepping on their throats, keeping it up for all 4 quarters. Even though there were a couple little hiccups in that third quarter, the team still finished strong and put U of A away, and rolled the victory, which was great for them. Jacob Kongaika playing the pitchfork in the A at midfield
to his former team.
A little mini scuffle there, but
there's a lot of that.
Certainly no Michigan, Ohio State, that's for sure.
There's a lot of that going around the country this week. I don't know.
Oh yes,
maybe
they're talking about outlawing the midfield stuff with the flag planting and stuff. But LT Welch got the only turnover in the game with an interception. Good for him. He continues to be a ball hawk. And then moving on here, just some of the stats from this game. We talked about Jordan Tyson being out for the year, but he did have a tremendous game. 8 receptions, 143 yards, and a touchdown. And that diving reception he had, where he got it, where he tiptoed, he's got his foot down on the sideline, was a tremendous catch. It's gonna be tough to not have him on Saturday, but and I'm sure that the rest of the team will definitely pick up the slack to accommodate for that. But they definitely spread the wealth in the red zone in this game. Shimon Mateer, Xavier Guillory, and even the former walk-on Derek Dusavio, each getting a touchdown as ASU breaking that 2-game rivalry losing streak, which was very hard to take the last couple of years, especially last year getting blown out on your own home field. Talking about fair play, and ASU definitely took it to the Rats on Saturday.
We talked about the fact that this U of A game is always throw out all the records, throw out, and usually there's always something at stake. In this case, what was at stake was the highest level of what was at stake for ASU. There was nothing at stake. Nothing at stake. Had they been in contention, had 5 wins and could have got 6, a lot more. The effort probably would have been a little more balanced. But I just think, given the situation,
trying to get to a bowl game, I guess.
Right. But
I don't know. Even that. I mean, you kind of see it. I watched the replay of the TCU game, the highlights, and effort wasn't there in that game either. I mean, they were just kind of laying down for everybody, and it was a problem.
Yeah,
hey, you kick them while they're down, especially your rival. This is a game you have circled on your calendar all year, and ASU definitely took it to them. They came out with a vengeance, and they came out hungry, and it showed with their play on the field because they were.
Yeah,
they got after it.
Yeah, they did, and like I said, every week there's always been something to improve upon. Penalties still remain an issue, I think, but we played 4 quarters.
A few of those were kind of questionable. I think it's another repeat of '96 where they were kind of calling those to kind of slow us down because.
But
probably could have put up 60 if.
Well, my point in bringing that up is because I think the standard for repping in different conferences is different. Different crews is different. All you want a ref to do is just be consistent and have them come explain to you what happened.
Yes.
Both ways. And I thought by week 11, week 10, or game 11, 12, you would have kind of figured out what really is a foul what isn't in this league. But I mean, we've overcome all that, and I know we'll keep getting, but they work on these things every week. There's a punch list of stuff to knock out. So yeah, I mean, hands off to these guys, man. All those awards, they all deserved it.
Yeah. One more thing I forgot to mention here. We'll talk about Cam Scottaboo. He had a tremendous game, of course, but Kyson Brown getting to 100 yards himself on just 8 carries was huge as well. I mean,
his confidence.
He's kind of been the forgotten man in the offense a little bit, and he had himself a tremendous game.
He did, and it went a long way to helping his confidence. And I think he'll be a major part of what's going on Saturday. Yep. He has to. Now we're going to throw some new wrinkles. I'm not going to tell you all of them because I was at practice yesterday, but I'm very, very. You don't like to give away your team's scheme, right? You can talk about a player here, a player there, maybe a route, but you don't want to give. We're too vested in this. We're not going to give anything away. But I'll just tell you, you saw some players playing in this game, like Derek Casubio has been a phenomenal scout team member. The last this is now his second year, but I think he's going to move up. He'll be in the rotation going forward just to help make up for the production loss of Tyson. And
another guy who was going to redshirt this year, but because NCAA rules, even if you redshirt, you can still play in the postseason games. Yep. Malik McLean, the Penn State transfer, who looked like he looked pretty good in the spring. Looked like he was going to be something this year. Had kind of a nagging injury, and the team decided to redshirt him. He's going to be out there, and he should have a role in Saturday's game as well.
Yeah, I left out somebody here. Well, no, he didn't play this week. Actually, he did. What's his name? Stovall. Stovall had a catch, and Stovall really, between X and Stovall, they are the two speedsters who can get some separation out of this whole group. So I left out Stovall in this group.
Well, yeah, and we'll get into how they're going to use these receivers a little bit more in the Iowa State preview, and we'll get into all that. But first, our players of the game, presented by the Valley Athletic Booster Club. To support local athletics, check out valleyathleticboosterclub.com. And for me, I don't think there's any argument. Cam Scottaboo continues to ball out, and he's just been a assassin in the red zone. And he was definitely on Saturday with some bruising runs, but he got out in the open a little bit and put up some big yardage runs too. 21 carries, 177 yards, 3 touchdowns for the scat man. And gosh, he just continues to impress week in and week out. There's a reason he's in the Heisman conversation because, especially when you look at his all-purpose yards, he didn't have he only had like 1 catch, I think, in this game. But
1 yard, 1 catch.
Out, he's proven that he can beat you in different ways, and he's been such a big part of what this team does offensively that it showed up in this game, especially with the way they used him in that the wild scat around the goal line, and just with the blockers in front of him, and the way he's kind of patient at the line of scrimmage, does kind of lets things develop in front of him. Oh man, he's fun to watch.
Look, I go back to the BYU game and how we handled that last series down on the goal line. And Kenny he said that's not going to happen again. Here's the manifestation of that. Switch to scat back or the wild scat.
Wild scat.
That's a direct
or
solution.
Sparky formation if you prefer.
Yeah, well, I think they up to the point where scat got here, it was always the Sparky, and now it's the scat back. But no, it's a beautiful thing. Scat is folks. I know you heard me say this probably by the second, third. I was saying it last year. He's going to be a fan favorite no matter what because he's such a throwback different kind of running back. His hand is he gives the best forearms straight arms I've seen in decades. He just takes people and just steers them.
Especially for a guy his size.
Yeah,
he runs so big for a guy who's not all that big. He's not all that big. He's not all that imposing when you look at him.
No.
But then you watch him run with a football in his hands. oh man, you better get low on him because he will make you pay.
Well, and the fact that he's low,
Oh,
and if he gets hit, he just puts a hand down for balance. He comes off
yeah, his
like a
balance is
tripod.
tremendous. But that's another thing too, because he's not the biggest guy. He's kind of low. He runs low to the ground. Yeah, he can get down. He can get a hand down and keep going. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean he was untouched on that one play. Kind of got put a hand down
Hmm.
and just kept on moving
That's
when there
right.
was nobody around him. Yeah, I know.
Well,
Oh
there's
gosh,
a
he's fun to
there's a
watch.
reason.
I can't wait to see him some more because we're gonna get hopefully we'll get multiple a few more games with him in that backfield because he's been so much fun to watch this year.
I
And
really,
then
I think if Cam has a really big day, I think he could sneak into that top 4 Heisman and be on the Dais in New York in a few weeks.
that'd be something for sure.
This place would go unglued if that happened, man. I mean,
Yeah,
especially
right.
after having our friend who went to LSU win it. It'd be so
Oh, Jaden.
gratifying.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
it would be just
Um,
gratifying to have him out
yes,
there.
and then for the defense, I got to give it to the senior Elijah O'Neal, who was just a force in the pass rush. He did have he had kind of a bad face mask penalty early in the game, but then he
Yes.
bounced right back and picked up a couple sacks. For a team that's been kind of hurting for pass rushers, he's kind of turned into one of the more consistent guys that they've had out on the edge this season. And and he was harassing Fafita almost
Oh,
all game. I think he had he had the 2 sacks, but he had probably twice that many in hits, in quarterback hits
oh yeah,
in this game. So
oh yeah.
yeah,
He,
he had a very very nice game.
yeah. Well,
Oh, and one more thing on Cam. He was the Bob Moran MVP of this game as well.
yes, he was. Yeah.
Yeah.
In case look, you folks don't know who Bob was. He was a beat writer for ASU football who came from the SEC, wrote for the Republic. Just a wonderful, wonderful. We would go to Camp T and go to dinner at night, and he would tell the best stories of anybody you've ever heard. I mean, he held court for 25 people. Just anybody would come and listen to Bob. What a great what a great writer and a great knowledgeable sports fan he was.
Hmm.
So here's mine. I put Sam in there. He just keeps getting better, folks.
Oh
He's
yeah.
gone from 71% the last 2 games to 77. So it's that 1% improvement every day philosophy. He was not phased. He took it. He's not seeing ghosts anymore. Dirty eyes. He's not
No dirty
seeing
eyes. Yes,
no dirty eyes.
absolutely.
And,
That's
and
usually a term we say for the defense, but it applies to the offense as
yeah,
well.
but he stepped up. And anytime there was, instead of that running around back in the backfield thing he's done a few times, he's just stepping up now, and it's there.
Usually it takes a quarterback a season or two
Yeah.
before he starts doing that. And he's picked that up throughout the
Yes.
course of the season because, yes, he was more of a scrambler at the beginning
Right.
of the year. This year he's kind of turned into more of a pocket passer and only runs when when nothing's there and everything breaks
Mhm.
down. Yeah, it's been incredible to watch his evolution
Well,
because that's what it is. He's just evolved from this, kind of athletic guy who can put his shoulder down and scramble and run and make plays with his legs to a guy who's a legit pocket passer and just picks apart defenses week in and week out.
I'm going to tell you,
Can't
he's
wait till they get
grown.
him some more weapons next year.
He's grown as a person as well. A few weeks ago, we had Sam come into the Booster Club. He and Scat and Doug Franz was doing the interview, and Doug can kind of dig deep in his questions. He hits nerves, and he kind of asked the question to Cam and to Sam: if you had a large sum of NIL money suddenly come to you, would you share it with your teammates? And of course, Scat says, "I'm already doing it, and I'm all about that." Yes, Sam said, "No." He waffled. He made it sound like he wanted to hang on to that money himself. Well, this week he started passing out money
Yeah.
to his teammates, so he is growing, folks.
Well,
Not just as,
he's actually got some more NIL money to give out.
but yeah, but I think I think he's maturing
Yes,
in judgment.
I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah,
in his judgment.
it's that evolution. It's not just on the field. It's in the locker room. It's off the
Mm,
field.
Sure.
Yeah, he's really turning into a not just a great a good leader
Mm-hmm.
and a good quarterback, but a good young man.
Now, I was a little torn on who to give deep. Listen, I like your pick on the on the defensive side, but between Rouser and Simmons, those guys have just been balling out. I mean, even
that breakup, that swipe
yes,
on the ball that
yeah,
Simmons had was very nice.
yeah,
And I like the celebration as well.
yeah. I mean, I was real tempted to throw him in, but I put Miles in here just
Yeah.
because Miles is become a young leader out there, man. And I just want to see him get his full opportunity in the next couple of years, and to get to the league.
And he's due for an interception. He hasn't really
Yeah.
had one yet this year. He's due to get one.
Yeah.
And now that he's kind of he's playing a little bit more under control, because he was kind of just out there, just hitting everybody, just whatever, seek and destroy, and then stand over you when he makes the play.
Yeah.
He's a little bit far removed from that now, and he's just turned himself into a solid ball player and a tackler, a tackling machine. I mentioned that when because he got honorable mention all Big 12 today, which he absolutely deserved. He's really become a catalyst on this defense in the back end, and a guy who he stick his face in the fire. He's not afraid to go after anybody, and he's as tough as they come. And man, he just plays the middle of that field in pass D so well. You got Alford on the back end, but you got Rouser up front, and he's not afraid to come in with the big boys and stick his nose in there. So
yeah,
that's the kind of guy you want on your defense.
Right. I just I talk about the heart of this team. I love the fact that the defense, if the offense can't move it, they're like, we got your back. We're going to go out there and get the ball back for you.
They're picking up the slack, definitely.
Yes, they are.
They're picking them up. Absolutely. That is a great point.
He definitely talks about that. In the pregame, he's really has become a vocal leader. And that's been such a part of the equation here, folks. So anyway, those are our players of the game.
Yes, and we mentioned the Big 12 Championship Game coming up here on Saturday in a couple days. AT&T Stadium, Arlington, Texas, Jerry's World, as it's well known, home of the Dallas Cowboys.
We're the home team. We're the home team.
Yep, yes, we are, and
they're
facing the Iowa State Cyclones, who they did not see in the regular season, which will be interesting. But Iowa State, the tough team. We'll certainly get into them here in just a moment. But Big John, I do want to ask you one thing, and we touched on this a little bit earlier. But with Jordan Tyson, the top wide receiver in this ASU offense, down, where does that production come from in the passing game?
Well, I was fortunate to be able to go to practice yesterday, and I saw how they're going to fix it. And we have a couple of people that are. One person in particular is coming off the getting rid of his red shirt to come out of this game. Malik McLean, folks, right? That number 12. Keep an eye out for number 12. He's been killing it all year with a red shirt. He couldn't play, but he's actually a two-team. He's played for two major college programs, and they wanted to redshirt him here before. I think he's burning a red shirt because he had two transfers too close to each other to be able to play for us. So you'll see McLean.
Well,
you're probably going
to NCAA rules postseason.
Right.
You can play even with a red shirt. So,
but I'm not going to expose our scheme. But I think everybody's going to be very pleased in what we're going to do with Scattaboo this week. We had 21 carries last week.
Yeah.
He'll probably have 30 touches, but they're not all going to be run. Not all going to be runs. I'm just going to say.
Yeah, that was something that I thought about this week when I thought about my keys to the game. I feel like you really got to force feed him about 30 touches.
About 30.
To get some get the production you want out of him. But that's certainly something, and it could come from multiple guys. Guys who you've had guys like Stovall and Guillory have kind of been the other options out there with Tyson. They flashed at times, but they usually have like one or two catches a game. But might be time to get them 3 or 4 a game. 3 or 4 in this game to kind of pick up the production. Hopefully, Guillory's kind of been the deep threat. Maybe you get them a little bit more work in the screen game, because they've done that a couple times too. Certainly want to watch out for Malik McLean. Another guy that I'm going to be interested to see how they use is Troy O'Meara,
Yes.
guy who, flashed at times last year.
Yeah, he's had an ankle.
I kind of saw his role diminished a little bit this year. He was more of a blocking receiver this year because he does that very well. But he's a big target guy that they like to. You feel like you get a mismatch with. He can stretch the field. He can do a lot of different things. So not the most consistent guy with his hands. At times he struggled, but still somebody that I feel like has value, and I feel like somebody that has been underutilized a little bit this year, who can step up. With
he had an ankle injury that was really long in healing, and he actually has been healthy now for a couple of weeks, but we haven't brought him in. And I'll just tell you, it's not. I don't want to throw him under the bus here. How do I put this? There's more than just the injury that was in play. How's that? Okay.
I figured as much.
Yeah. And so it's time to let him shine. And just like you're gonna see the redshirt senior McLean. Now you also saw Coben Borgay had a beautiful little catch and run. Got like 4 yards out of it
from his brother Toby. Yes.
Yeah, that was.
Trenton, excuse me.
Trenton really, it can't. He didn't. Oh, he took the moment and kind of mastered it. He didn't let it overwhelm him, even though it was his brother in his hometown and with all the friends and family there. I thought Trenton showed a lot of composure in that series. But
he hit the little swing pass out to Eusebio, took it the distance.
Well, and he does what he did. Nice. That little juke on the over pursue. He made that guy over pursue. It was phenomenal, man. So he's had. Yeah, it was great to see second and third teamers, even some of the guys from the scout team get some reps. But this is all about player development. We have not developed a lot of people on the fly this year, but I think
I haven't really had the opportunity with the close games
games. Exactly. Had we had some blowouts, that's when you start getting development time for these guys. But but no, we're not. We're going to get into Iowa State now and how they should be respected, folks. This team is over the years they've put a lot of people in the pros. They've had some great players, some of which were before Ryan's time. But Matt Blair was a hell of a linebacker for the Minnesota Vikings for many, many years.
I remember Seneca Wallace from the Seahawks, of course, Alan Lazard from the Green Bay Packers, Dave Montgomery. We're watching right now on Thursday Night Football for the Lions.
Right.
And, of course, Brock Purdy, the local product.
Mr. Irrelevant.
Mr. Irrelevant and starring for the 49ers. So, they definitely put some quality players in the pros. And this is a program that's they've been solid. I think that's the best. They've been fairly consistent. They're usually a competitive team. They usually get in bowl. They usually get to bowl games most years. And Matt Campbell's been one of the most highly respected and regarded coaches in all of college football for several years now. His name has come up quite a bit when we're talking about filling some of the big jobs among the bigger conferences. And he stayed put. He stayed loyal to Iowa State, and they're just a solid football team. They do a lot of things well. They're very interesting to watch, especially this year with what their offense has been able to do.
But when Matt was hired, I'll never forget. Herb Street says he's going to get him to 10 wins really fast, and he was right.
Well, and they, I think they got to an early bowl game. I think they were in the Liberty Bowl his second year.
Right.
But they had, his second and third year, they won 8 games. They won 9 in 2020 when he took into the Fiesta Bowl, which they won.
They rebuilt.
Then, it was a bit of a rebuilding period after that. They went 4-8 in 2022. They did get to the Liberty Bowl again last year. Where they went 7-6, but now they're 10 wins. They look like a legit team this year.
Well, they
started the season 7-0.
Yeah, they remind me a lot of us, quite frankly, from where they've come from, and the balanced attack. It's our story all over again in a different part of the country.
And there weren't a ton of expectations on them this year
That's right.
either,
That's right.
because they were expected to finish kind of middle of the pack. Sixth was the preseason pick for them, and now they're one of the best teams in the conference playing in the championship game. They started the season 7-0, peaked at number 9 in the AP poll, and they've kind of wobbled a little bit after that. They had some very, very close games. As we look at their schedule, I believe in the next slide. Yes. They didn't have much of a non-conference to speak of other than their rivalry game against Iowa, who, by the way, was the only ranked team that they played all season. But they took care of business once the conference schedule started. But they played some pretty good teams and won by multiple scores. Baylor, West Virginia, UCF. Those are good teams. Certainly, those are some of the better teams in the conference.
Yeah. Anytime you see seven home games, folks, that's like loading the box. I mean, they got more. They got a lot going on for them this year with seven home games.
And then beating your rival on the road, certainly never easy, especially in that game with the Cyhawk Trophy on the line. They did a good job up there winning that close game. But then they've had a couple close games, against UCF at home. Then they falter against Texas Tech at home. Next week they got the rivalry game against Kansas. That was at Arrowhead Stadium.
Big venue, yeah.
But they gave up 45 points in, and they lost to. Of course, they come back to beat Cincinnati. I watched that Utah game in Salt Lake, and that was a little bit. That was kind of that was a squeaker right there.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a game they probably should have lost. Honestly, Utah played probably their best game of the year, top to bottom, and probably should have won that game, to be honest. And then last week, of course, we all watched the game against Kansas State because it had such implications on who ASU was going to play in this game. And, it was a back and forth game. They didn't start out very well. Turned the ball over a couple times. It wasn't a pretty game. Defense buckled down and got them the victory in the fourth quarter. But still very much back and forth, and they had to come up with some pretty big plays in order to win that game against Kansas State last week. And I think Kansas State was actually ranked 24th at the time. Right. But Ryan, that was the second ranked game that they ended up winning.
You know why I like this? You know why I like this conference so much? There's no parity. There's no dominant team. And what it means to me is the teams with the best heart who play the best together as a team. Both of these teams playing the championship are not putting 12 guys into the NFL next year. My point is, in other conferences, it's about the Jimmies and the Joes always, but they have superior Jimmies and Joes, and that's why they get three teams in the playoffs. Even though they should only get one. But my point is, I love this conference because all the prognosticators kept thinking this was all about how they finished last year, when in fact that's not the case. It's the teams who are playing, and it's very hard to see as a writer early on who's got heart and who doesn't, who's gelling, and we didn't even know.
So it's hard to measure.
Yes,
and I understand where the kind of the so-called experts were coming from, picking everybody where they were, because even Iowa State, their defense is scuffled at times. They've looked good at times, like they showed up big in the fourth quarter against Kansas State, but they're giving up 28 points to Utah, who had a really down year. They give up 45 points to Kansas, who's kind of more of a running team. You only give up 35 points to UCF, who's has a strong offense certainly, but you still got to show up. And then same thing with Baylor, giving up 32 points to them. This is a team that's kind of a little bit their strength is on their offense certainly, but getting back to my original point, you never know. You can't. It's hard to measure the heart of a team. Their chemistry, their what's their mindset coming into the season, and that's very hard to quantify and measure. And that's why they got it so wrong, because they were just going by the Jimmies and Joes who the team has, and not so much what they were about, what their motivation was, who they were as a team, as opposed to individuals. And we're certainly seeing the fruits of that now, with Iowa State being where they are. You look at this team, and I talked about, Matt Campbell, certainly a great coach, but their offense has been very strong this year, led by Rocco Becht. If that name sounds familiar, it's because his dad, Anthony Becht, was a NFL tight end for several years, and is now a head coach in the XFL. And I think that's him. Anthony Becht, the tight end. Yes, Father Anthony Becht. Yeah, that's right. I thought that was the case. And he's played extremely well. A guy who, is a dual threat. Certainly, he's had good numbers this year. 59% completion, 20 touchdowns, just 8 interceptions.
He can run.
Those interception numbers are a little bit of a concern, though, especially compared to the touchdown number. But he's been very solid this year. He's been a big reason why they've had the success that they've had. And yes, he is a true dual threat. He will get out and run. He's got 7 rushing touchdowns on the year. He's very elusive, very fast out in the open. Certainly a guy that you want to keep in the pocket because he can beat you in a lot of different ways. Not really a running team per se. They've really just run to keep teams honest. Although Carson Hansen has had a solid year, they've mostly gone to him in the red zone. 11 touchdowns on the ground this year. They don't use the running back in the passing game very much. No running back has double digit receptions this year, which is interesting. But yeah, Carson Hansen, he's the featured back. They will, work a couple other guys in. Abu Sama's had a good year in his own right. He's gotten a lot of touches this year. Hansen's kind of been it's kind of been 1A, 1B. Hansen's 1A. They will also work another guy, Jalen Jackson, in a little bit. He had like 67 carries this year, and 89 carries, excuse me. But again, they don't really throw the ball out of the backfield very much. So, the strength of their team is in their receivers.
Right.
As we move on.
I was going to point out just one thing. The Carson Hansen kid is a big dude. He's 6'2", 225. He's a load.
And that's why they've gone to him so much in the red zone, because he can get the tough yards and has found his way in the end zone quite a bit this year. So certainly you got kind of a thunder and lightning thing going on with him and Abu Sama. But the strength of this team has been in their passing game. They've got 2,000-yard receivers. Jaden Higgins, he's kind of the bigger guy, the possession guy, but he's also got 9 touchdowns on the year to go along with 80 receptions. And Jalen Noel is kind of their speed guy. He'll stretch the field quite a bit. He is shifty. He's fast. He's very tough to cover out in the open, one-on-one. 67 receptions, 6 touchdowns on the year. They're, far and away kind of the big part of their passing offense. They really go to those two. Nobody else really has more than nobody has more than 20 catches out of the rest of the receiving core. Right. So it's really those two guys. They will, use Gabe Burkle a little bit in their tight end, and then they use a fullback too, Stilo Klotz. He's caught a couple of balls this year, but mostly his value is what he does in run and pass blocking. He's been a big part of what they've been able to do this year on offense. Kind of a throwback with the use of the fullback. He's been a big part of what they do offensively, even though it doesn't show up in the stat sheet as much. And then their defense has been a little bit of an issue, controlling the line of scrimmage. About 20 points a game, but they had a couple of those numbers. That number's a little bit skewed because they had a couple shutouts in 7-point games early against some weaker opponents like North Dakota, Arkansas State, Houston, etc. So not the most revealing, but this stat is very revealing. 173 rushing yards per game allowed. And a big reason why is they run kind of a true 3-3-5. Right. John Heacock has been Matt Campbell's guy as the defensive coordinator since he got to Ames. And they specialize in a 3-high safety look. Usually 3-3-5 can be kind of a hybrid 3-4 where they'll bring a safety into the box and he'll play kind of a linebacker, safety hybrid. They prefer to keep the 3 safeties back to try to take away the long ball, try to cut down the passing game. But it's hurt them in the running game, given how much they've given up. And that's the old joke with the 3-3-5. That's how many yards you'll give up on the ground if you run it. But that's kind of how they run their defense. They play kind of a bend but don't break. It shows in their stats because 3 of their top 4 tacklers are defensive backs. But they've been good this year. They're disciplined. They don't give up a ton of big plays. It's just these long sustained drives that they've had some trouble with teams. And if they're not forcing turnovers, they're certainly prone to giving up points against some of these teams. I mentioned Kansas, UCF, a couple others that put up some big numbers against them early in the year. And Malik Verdon is their leading tackler. He's got 4 tackles for loss, a sack, some pass defense, interception, 2 forced fumbles on the year. Safety Bo Freiler is also a quality player for them, 74 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 2 interceptions, 4 pass defense. These 2 guys in the middle, on the back end, you got to know where they are at all times because they'll get after it. They've got a couple interceptions between them, so definitely got to know where they are.
Sounds like Malik when they're trying to stack the box, that's probably one of the first guys they want to bring up is Malik.
They'll bring up both guys, I think, and that's certainly something that I think you'll see in this game. But they'll show up on film. They prefer to keep the safeties back, try to take away the middle of the field and the deep ball. And they have a couple other guys as we move on. In Jeremiah Cooper is one of their better, probably their best corner. He's a guy who was preseason All Big 12, should be playing on Sundays. The teams have kind of stayed away from him. He's got 2 interceptions on the year, 6 pass defense. He's a guy who will definitely get after it. He's very physical. 43 tackles on the season, but he is kind of graded out as their best corner so far this year. And then you have Jontez Williams on the other side. He's got 4. He leads the team with 4 interceptions, 4 pass defense. So the strength of this team is certainly their secondary, their pass defense.
Sure.
But they've been a little bit weak against the strong running teams, and that's certainly ASU's bread and butter.
Not a little bit. So, they're worse than U of A. Okay, in that stat.
Per game, yes, per game. That is true.
They got slightly better this week. They were 177, allowing 177 up to last week. Now 173.
Which is about their season average.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But linebacker Cooper Abel has been good for them this year. 6 tackles for loss and a sack to go on 59 tackles. And then you look at their D line. Their pass rush has been a little bit weak this year as well. J.R. Singleton, he's their best pass rusher with 4 sacks and a forced fumble this year, and going 5 tackles for loss. And then their nickel, I think their nickel or their third safety, Darian Porter, he's got 3 interceptions himself this year. So if they're forcing turnovers, this can be a very tough defense, but they play kind of a bend but don't break style. They're trying to avoid giving up the big play. They're fine with giving up field goals. They're just trying to cut down on big plays as much as possible and try and force some turnovers, force the defense to make mistakes. And that leads us into our keys to the game, presented by Sleep in Heavenly Peace, a great nonprofit that builds beds for families in need. Please support Sleep in Heavenly Peace. And for me, Scat Supreme. I mentioned we talked about it earlier. He needs to get about 30 touches, but this is going to fall on the offensive line and the tight ends to control that line of scrimmage, move some teams off the ball, move Iowa State off the ball, and keep that time of possession at right around 35 minutes. If they can do that, they should give themselves a good chance. Just keep moving the chains, sustain drives, put yourself in scoring position, and especially keep that Iowa State passing attack off the field and out of rhythm. because Rocco Becht, once he gets going, he is very hard to stop. He's put up, his numbers haven't been super good, super great, but the interception number is a little bit high for me. But he's still throwing at about 60% clip. And he's got those two dangerous receivers on the outside that put up some big numbers this year. So you got to do everything you can to keep them off the field and try to make them as little bit of a factor in this game. That's kind of been ASU's bread and butter, ball control type football. They don't hit. They're not a home run offense. No reason to start doing that now. Just keep grinding it out and controlling the clock the way they have. They should put themselves in a good position to be successful offensively. And then for the defense, batter Becht. Keep Rocco Becht in the pocket. Try to put some pressure on him a little bit, but keep contain on him. Don't let him get away and get it into some of those running lanes, because he'll do it. He will tuck and run. First chance he gets. He's kind of on the slider side. He's not the biggest guy, but he will get out and run, and he can move. He can move. And then keep those linebackers. Keep a spy on him. Keep the linebackers in the middle of the field. Try to cut down on those passing lanes, because they love to throw the ball over the middle to Higgins and Noel. Those 2,000-yard receivers that they have, they're legit. They are for real. So just try to cut down on their numbers as much as you can.
Sure. Well, again, I agree with everything you said. 30. We got to get. You got to get Scattaboo off, and that can either happen from the running back position or the slot position. Scat has really good hands, folks, and that's a huge part of the huge asset this time of year. When people, they're going to put people in the box, more people in the box than they probably have all year. But I'm going to tell you this: we talk about 21 personnel, 22 personnel. We may even run 23 personnel, meaning 2 running backs, 3 tight ends, because they're going to put as many people in the box as they can to stop
Cat. Seen that a little bit this year in short yardage and down by the goal line with Kool-Aid in the backfield as running as a tight end.
Right.
Yeah, you could see them do that a little bit in this game with as weak as Iowa State's been against the run. Yeah, don't steer away from it. Steer into it.
Yeah, and
try to just try to move them, bulldoze them off the ball as much as you can. Certainly.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, we lose a lot of productivity with Jordan, but Scat's going to help make it up. X, Matty are the tight end, Stovall, Newton, as we talked about, Smith, McLean, the red shirt senior.
I don't even think Jake Smith's healthy.
He is. I saw he was running out there with no green jersey on. He's moving around pretty well. But yes, he's ready to go. He's ready to go. And then I
could even see Eusebio and Corbin Bourget in this game as well. Certainly, that's a possibility.
Yes, it is.
Could be. I'm taking it way back to Super Bowl I. Could be a Max McGee situation where it could be the most unlikely guy you'd expect step up and have an impact in this game.
You pointed out they like to create turnovers. We're going to need to really put an emphasis on the turnover. If we can win this turnover battle by 2 more, we'll get 2 more possessions. That's the difference in the game, and you're going to see in our predictions here in a moment. That could well be the factor that wins the game for us. We haven't really talked about winning turnover battles in a while because we've been so focused on running the ball, stopping the run. That typical old head on head. And this week we have our greatest strength is against their greatest weakness. That is a big, something's got to break, right?
Yep. And also, this defense hasn't necessarily. They forced a few turnovers here and there.
Mm-hmm.
They won a turnover battle for the most part in these certainly during this 5-game winning streak. You've seen them force a few, and it's been crucial. But yeah, this could be a game where you see them, to really make the difference. They probably need to come away with a +2 advantage. That certainly could make all the difference in a game like this. So yeah, certainly something to keep an eye on. So those are our keys to the game presented by Sleep in Heavenly Peace, and now it is prediction time. And I guarantee you, folks, we did not get together when we were writing this up. This is just something that for whatever reason, we're on the same wavelength, and we, both have ASU putting up 4 touchdowns for whatever reason. Just kind of the way things have gone. About 30 points has kind of been the magic number in games this year. The first one there tends to come away with a victory. And in a game like this, where Iowa State's going to certainly key in on the run, probably put their DBs on an island, probably going to bring those, instead of keeping those 3 high safeties, bring in 1 or 2 of them into the box to try to cut down on the run. ASU is going to have to throw at some point, and that's going to fall on Sam Leavitt. But I expect him to rise to the challenge, and I think ASU does come away with a 28-23 victory.
Last week I predicted 38-19. I knew that we were going to try to push
you were a little closer than I was.
Yeah. But I want to tell you this.
I overestimated U of A's offense. Sue me.
Yeah. Well, to me, the fact that we got the 49 points tells me that we are trying to score style points for the playoffs. I don't know that we can do that this week. It's going to be tougher, certainly. Yes. But if we get up on them early, I don't want to see us take our foot off the gas. Is the only thing. I want to see us, continue play a 4-quarter game. You get them. Jim Johnson used to say this to his Miami teams. You get them down, don't let them up. Right.
And that's the mentality we have to have coming into this game, because Iowa State's offense, they're explosive. They can score in a hurry. So just you got to make them earn every single thing that they get. That to me is one of the biggest keys as far as the defense goes. And we'll certainly have more to talk about next week here on RWD. If you like the show, please like and comment. We always love to hear back from you. So that'll do it for us. Big one on Saturday, Big John, the biggest one of the year. Say goodnight. Go Devils. Forks up. Silence the Cyclones. Let's get that championship. Going to the ship.
Get after them, Devils. Here we go. Here we go.